Hey guys, what's up? I want to read Proverbs Chapter 19. And just want to say that I'm having some personal problems again with my vehicle again. So, just when I was thinking everything was going to be over, it seems like it's just a never ending subject, but it happened. And I took my mom grocery shopping and we went to town, and everything was seeming like it was fine. And I had already had an appointment set for the mechanic like in a couple of weeks because there was like a squeaking noise, which I think has been there for a while. He was thinking it was the brakes, but he did look at the brakes a while back and said they were fine. So I was thinking maybe it's a bearing too, and I've had that issue before because it sounds like it's kind of squeaking when I turn sometimes, not always when I use the brakes, but I have no idea. But I figured that's probably going to be another expense, and so I was prepared for it anyway. But took my mom grocery shopping today, and we went to Wendy's afterwards to get something to eat before we were going to go home. And right at the drive-thru, the vehicle died, and we had to sit in line for a little while. Not really long, but it was like around lunchtime, so it got a little busy when we pulled in. And when we were like at the drive-through menu, I was complaining that the air wasn't working because I just paid to get the air fixed and everything, and it was getting kind of warm like before it died. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but it just died randomly at the drive-through window, and I was like, "Mom, the car just died," and I turned it back over, and it was like wanting to die again. And I looked at the temperature gauge, and I saw that it was like all the way hot. So I was like, okay, I don't know what caused that to happen, but I was like, we can't be stuck at this window. So I tried. They gave us our food, and I was managed to get it around the building to a parking spot. And then I was kind of panicking. What are we gonna do? And we just got groceries, and Mom got milk and everything, and it's hot out, and stuff can't sit in the car forever. And her boyfriend is in the same town, and he's very helpful. So I figured he'd probably help. We should let him know. And it was like afternoon, like I said, and my mechanic was on break, but I've got his number, so I texted him, and we ended up getting a ride pretty quick from her boyfriend. And then my mechanic said, he'd come and pick up the vehicle, which is like a 40-minute driving distance from where he is. So he towed it for a little ways. So I'm already going to have to pay a tow bill, which he's pretty generous, or he's pretty, they shouldn't be too expensive, thankfully, for that, but it will cost. And I was already going to have him look at the squeak and stuff, and now whatever this is, and I don't know. And so now I got to find rides to work, and I have one of the guys that I work with that's going to help me, and but I'm not always going to be working with him, so I got to figure out what's going to happen when he's not there. But really, hopefully, it'll be fixed tomorrow. I mean, that's just on the really wishful side. Need to pray about it, but it's just bizarre because with vehicles, you never know one day to the next, and that happened. So it could just be that it was low on antifreeze. I don't think so, but I haven't checked for a while, anything, so I don't know. But yeah, I also have some personal paid time off that I can afford to call in a couple of days and even get paid for it if I have to, absolutely. But I know that's not a good option. That's not going to make anybody at work happy. But if push comes to shove and nobody's going to really be able to help me with the ride, then I might have to do that if this is going to be a prolonged situation. But hopefully not. I'm really hoping it's not going to take long. But it's just going to be more money unexpectedly. But kind of prepared for that. But we'll see. Anyway, who cares, right? It was just an eventful day for me. And so I had the day off a couple days ago, and I had the day off, and I didn't record anything a couple days ago. And I was like, today is going to be the day I'm going to get stuff together. And that happened, and that kind of derailed me. So, but I've decided I'm going to record this, chapter 19. So, and I was just looking over this and looking at the first verse, and it says, "Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity than he that is perverse in his lips and is a fool." And I always relate things to my current situations. I guess it's kind of natural, but there's some YouTubers that I watch, and there's one that started his own channel, and like his first video is talking about how he quit his job. And this guy has a kid and a girlfriend that he lives with, I guess, and I got the impression that this dude quit his job because he thinks that he's going to make a living off of YouTube or something. And I just think that it's really foolish, especially him having a kid. Kind of a big deal to me is that he should work and provide, for his family and whatnot. But, I'm thinking about how people say, you can always flip burgers and stuff. And I did fast food. I've done so many different jobs, so many different minimum wage jobs. And this person was doing construction. And I get that in a lot of different towns, a lot of different cities, and the fact that you have kids and maybe debt or whatever else, like, sometimes working a minimum wage job just doesn't seem like a good idea because maybe you're just still drowning with, all the money that needs to go out and you're, like, not having any coming in. But at the same time, people use it as an excuse to end up not doing anything at all. And I'm thinking that the person who works at McDonald's or some fast food place, which is usually kind of looked down on, so it's usually like, one of the lower ranked jobs, but I mean, it is good, especially for somebody who's just starting out and younger people and whatnot. But I mean, for anybody, there are people with families that work at those jobs and they stick with it, and they might work a little extra overtime and, they make it by. And I think that, somebody who works at McDonald's flipping burgers has, can have more dignity and integrity than, somebody who just quit their job and refuses to work there. And, I've quit jobs many times, so I'm not saying, anything about that even recently, but then again, I reapplied to other places, and then, I got another job as soon as I could. I have to work, but I also want to. But yeah, somebody who quit their job because they were doing construction, and they might look down on, somebody who works at McDonald's or something, but really, they're the foolish ones if they're not going to work at all. So I don't know if that really has anything to do with this verse, but it kind of does to me. Better is the poor that walketh in his integrity. Life's not all about having a lot of material things and everything else. But obviously our life's, about the Lord and serving Him. But having the things like peace of mind and stuff like that are a lot more valuable, and wisdom than just riches or whatever. But it makes me think about, the poor, the people that work minimum wage jobs, the customer service jobs, the retail and all that, the jobs that people don't want to do. And there's a lot of people that don't work and they say that they want to, but then they look down on jobs like that. They're pretty foolish. Verse 2 says also that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good, and he that hasteth with his feet sinneth. Also that the soul be without knowledge, it is not good, and he that hasteth with his feet sinneth. So hasteth, again, I should know that word, but I need to look that up because I don't know if that means like quickly or being slothful. But I think haste means quickly, I think. To make haste would be to move quickly, right? So he that hasteth with his feet makes me think, he says without the knowledge, so somebody who talks and acts without really knowing what they're doing. without taking things into consideration is foolish. Verse 3, the foolishness of man perverteth his way, and his heart fretteth against the Lord. Wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. And so now, it makes it sound like wealth is a good thing. Wealth maketh many friends. Because it's talking about kind of like blessed is the poor, basically, at the beginning. Which, makes you think of the Beatitudes, the Lord. The Beatitudes, or whatever. But the wealth maketh many friends, but the poor is separated from his neighbor. So, that verse interests me. I'd like to look at other commentary on that, but it makes you think about how wealthy people might have a lot of fake friends, too, just because of their status or their wealth. So, it can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. Being poor can be a good thing and a bad thing in different ways too. And the poor is separated from his neighbor. I don't know, does that mean, is that kind of like a negative thing? Or is that just saying, is that also just kind of how people are shallow because they don't want to be around the poor? Not really sure. Seems like there's a lot of different ways to look at that one. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. Definitely the Bible talks about a false witness is not a good thing. Being a liar is very bad. Many will entreat the favor of the prince, and every man is a friend to him that giveth gifts. And that verse sounds familiar, like I read it last time, or something very similar. All the brethren of the poor do hate him, but much more do his friends go far. But how much more do his friends go far from him? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. Another interesting verse. He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. So is the they the words that he's saying, or is the they who he's pursuing? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. So it makes me think of the words. Basically, it's just kind of like how poor people are unliked. He that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul, and he that keepeth understanding shall find good. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall perish. That's almost an exact copy of verse 5, but it's slightly different. But basically, delight is not seemly for a fool, much less for a servant to have rule over princes. So, it makes me think, again, this is kind of backwards, and it seems like a lot of verses are like this, to where the point, it's like the point that he wants to really get by is that delight is not seemly for a fool. But then he uses that analogy of a servant having rule over princes, which helps us to better understand what you said before. And makes me wonder about that verse, that delight is not seemly for a fool, that that a fool doesn't find delight, because all that fools have that await them is destruction. um, just bad things. It could be because he's talking about how he that speaketh lies will perish, and they'll be punished and such. But it's just as bizarre for a servant to have rule over princes. That idea doesn't even make sense, right? For the servant to have rule over the princes. So delight is far from the foolish. Let's go on to the next section. In the first section there, my Bible said, fear of the Lord tendeth to life. And the next one it says, forgiveness and mercy. The discretion of a man deferreth his anger, and it is his glory to pass over a transgression. It is his glory to pass over a transgression. So we're not always to be seeking revenge and stuff. And that's something I've always thought that's interesting, that the world doesn't understand. And I felt like I've kind of understood that a long time ago. That, a lot of people think to be a man, would be to fight somebody and to beat them or something and make people think that you're victorious or whatever. But really, to be a man, and biblically, is, to let things slide and to have cooler heads prevail and, seek things by justice, by God, and by the law. Not always the easiest thing to do, but, a lot of times, if you're in some kind of situation and you don't react, people think that you're weak or whatever. But it's the complete opposite. The king's wrath is as the roaring of a lion, but his favor is as dew upon the grass. And obviously, it's kind of like an analogy to the Lord above, God in heaven. A foolish son is the calamity of his father, and the contentions of a wife are a continual dropping. So these aren't good things. It's basically I think it's a message to children and to wives, that you don't want to be a bad child or a bad wife. House and riches are the inheritance of fathers, and a prudent wife is from the Lord. Slothfulness casteth into a deep sleep, and an idle soul shall suffer hunger. He that keepeth the commandment keepeth his own soul, but he that despiseth his ways shall die. The next section says, pity and mercy for the poor. He that hath pity upon the poor lendeth unto the Lord, and that which he hath given he will pay him again. Amen. Oh, what a blessing. And it's just amazing. I've heard like David Wood talk about it, and probably a lot of different, during debates and stuff, I've heard him say, he's a Christian apologist. He debates Muslims and stuff all the time, but I used to watch debates nonstop. I should watch them again. I was addicted to watching debates with James White and everybody for a long time. Learned a lot, but I remember David Wood just talking about how Christianity, like revolutionized the world, and, basically hospitals exist and stuff because of Christians, and because, of our love towards the poor and the weak and everything else, that, we're supposed to be humble, and we're unique, in this aspect in our faith, and it's the only true faith, but, it's because of stuff like this, these verses and God inside of us, that we're to have pity on the poor, when, again, like I said, like the world's like the complete opposite. They're upside down, backwards, and, they just want to look down on the poor all the time, look down on the weak, look down on the elderly, etc., whatever. And we're called to not be like that. And we're blessed when we bless others. And so it's an amazing thing. Chasten thy son while there is hope, and let not thy soul spare for his crying. Yeah, that would be a challenge to be a parent. I can't say that I really relate to any of that, but that's one of the things for somebody who isn't a parent and, think about being a parent. It's like, man, disciplining your kids would be hard, but it's definitely needed, and it doesn't seem like there's enough of it going on, but a man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, for if thou deliver him, yet thou must do it again. Trying to think of exactly what that means. A man of great wrath shall suffer punishment, for if thou deliver him, yet thou must do it again. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. There are many devices in a man's heart, nevertheless, the counsel of the Lord, that shall stand. The counsel of the Lord is what shall stand. And I'm just thinking about how verse 12 just seems so simple. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. But these are just points that he's talked about over and over and over again in Proverbs, and it actually is a pretty big deal, because there's so many people that don't want to listen to counsel. They just want to do things their own way, and we all do struggle with that. And it's like, no, like, you have to, you have to listen and learn. So, it's a pretty big thing. The desire of a man is his kindness, and a poor man is better than a liar. Wow. It's better to be poor and be an honest, upright person than to be a liar. The fear of the Lord tendeth to life, and he that hath it shall abide satisfied. He shall not be visited with evil. A slothful man hideth his hand in his bosom, and will not so much as bring it to his mouth again. Scorners and false witnesses. Man, they're really down on people that didn't work and stuff. And it can be applied in many ways. I mean, but yeah, you gotta think that they did a lot of farming and everything back then, and that was all. You don't work, you don't eat, basically. So scorners and false witnesses is the last section, verse 25 through 29. Smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. and reprove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. So, again, this is it's interesting because it talks about, passing over transgressions and stuff, letting things go, and then it says, smite a scorner, and the simple will beware. I guess there does need to be some punishment, and sometimes discipline. And reprove one that hath understanding, and he will understand knowledge. And maybe that's really the focus. Maybe, as he always has these analogies, and he's always like comparing different things, maybe the real focus is the understanding and the knowledge part, because he's always talking about that. So, just saying, like, like if you spank a child, they'll learn, right? Like if you hit somebody, like they'll know something is wrong. And he's like, well, if you reprove one that has understanding, then he will understand knowledge. And so, not everybody has understanding, though. There's the fools. There's those that reject it. And so, this doesn't go for reproving everybody, because not everybody is gonna understand it. But I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting off track here. Next verse. He that wasteth his father and chaseth away his mother is a son that causeth shame and bringeth reproach. That's a really sad situation there. Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge. So he's basically saying, don't listen to the people that will take you away from, the words of knowledge. An ungodly witness scorneth judgment, and the mouth of the wicked devoureth iniquity. Final verse says, judgments are prepared for scorners, and stripes for the back of fools. Okay, so that's chapter 19, and I think I'm just going to end it here. I just want to get some rest. So, thanks guys for listening. God bless.